Hi there, I'm Tracy Gore, owner and designer at Fabulous Rehabs in Fountain Hills, Arizona. Today I wanted to show you a little tutorial using some of the paints that I use and also one of the roller techniques that I've been using on my painted furniture. What we're going to do today is we're going to do a dry brushing technique where we build up some texture first and then we will use our really nice glaze. It's a zinc glaze with a little bit of metallic in it, and we're going to run the roller through it to create a crocodile pattern on it. So what I like to do, I always tell my students that if they're going to do a nice piece of furniture that they should always do a little bit of a sample board first. And what I do is I just use little molding trims. You can use a flat board, whatever you have around. You don't have to spend a lot of money. But what I like to do is do a little piece first just to make sure I'm going to like the finish before I start applying the paint. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use this beautiful color. It's called Dollar Bill by American Paint Company. And this may seem a little funny, but what I like to do, because it's smooth, I want to build up texture because the texture is what helps you do the dry brushing. So I'm going to just start blobbing it on. You know, you can just kind of get some of it on like this. And then after, you're going to come back and you're just going to really smush it. And I use these really cheap chip brushes because they work best when you're building up texture. I wouldn't use these if I was trying to create a very smooth finish because they're going to show your brush lines. But that's what we want for this technique. So we're just going to really smush it up. And the thicker you put it on, the longer it's going to take to dry. The cool thing about this American paint, though, is if you take a hot blow dryer to it, you can get it to crack a little bit, and that's going to show your texture even more. So that's what I do sometimes if I want a really good crackly effect, because it has clay in it. And clay dries super fast. That's a great feature about it too, because you can really do a lot of projects and you can do them really quick. So if you see how I've got a lot of buildup right there, that is going to dry, and they're going to dry like little bumps, like little hills or little mountains. And that's good because that's what we want for this part. Okay, so now this piece is very nice and dry. It's got a lot of nice texture built into it. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull our Liberty, which is also an American Paint product. It's a very similar tone, but it's a little bit lighter green. And what that's going to do is it's going to help show all of the little detail, all the little ridges and everything. What we do for that is we just use another chip brush again. And I like these ones that are, you know, they're just real cheap and they're real fluffy. You want that fluffiness to them. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna dip the little tiny tips and not even go all the way down into the paint at first. And you're just gonna get a little, load your brush, and then you're gonna offload it. So if you have a piece of paper or some paper towel always with you, and the first strokes you're gonna do are probably gonna hardly be visible, but you want a very light hand, like a feather. You just wanna lightly hold that brush and you wanna just gradually go, and I don't have enough. So what I do is I dip back again, and you kinda get a little blob on the paper so you can actually pull your paint from there too. So now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do it a little bit more until I feel like I'm starting to show some detail. Oh, see, there we go. And I'm just gonna keep going back and forth. I'm not gonna reload because I got a good amount right now, and I'm just gonna sort of rub, and you can put a little more pressure as you see that it's starting to take in there. And you can kind of now see all the pretty little ridges and so forth. And right now it looks very dry and very light in color, but once you add your top coat to this, it will bring your color back to the color it is when it's in the container, like that's our dollar bill, so it will darken up quite a bit. And because it has the clay in it, this particular brand of paint, that's why when it dries to a lighter color. But don't be afraid, because once you put your top coat on, it's gonna darken back to the color that you thought it was gonna be. So that looks pretty good. We've got a real good coat on there. And so the next step is that I'm gonna seal it with some top coat, because whenever you're putting glaze on American paints, because it's got the clay, it really grips hard, and you won't be able to move that glaze around unless you seal it first. So that's what I'm gonna do next. So now we're going to add the liquid top coat, and this is American Paint's sealer. They have waxes, but they also have a liquid sealer. And this is great if you're putting a piece of furniture out on your patio or something. I would not use wax. I'd use this nice liquid top coat, and you don't have to buff. So now you'll see as I paint over this, it's going to make the whole piece darker. and it's going to dry to a darker color, and that's the color that you see when it's wet in the jar. And it looks milky when you first put it on, but it dries. It's just sort of like Elmer's glue, comes out white, but it will dry dark after it's dry. Okay, so now we are ready for our glaze, and we are going to use the Paint Couture Zinc Glaze, which is probably my favorite of all the glazes that they have, and they've got about 12 different colors, which is awesome. So now this is going to be a little different than the frame that we're actually doing as our project, because the frame is flat and this has some ridges, but it'll give us the general idea to see whether we're going to like it or not. So what I'm doing now is I'm just stroking this glaze all the way on. You want to get it all the way covered on there. And that looks really cool just with the glaze without the roller. And I'm just going to try to see if I can get some removal. Oh, it worked pretty good, even though there's ridges on it. So now I'm going to try on the top part, and I'm just going to pull this. And this is, of course, just a test strip. So you can make it prettier on your actual piece, but that looks really nice. So you can see how it pulled some of the color off and left the green underneath. And because we built in the texture, it's a really nice crocodile finish. So now that we've done our test strip, and I did the frame to resemble that test strip, the only part that I haven't finished yet is to do the zinc glaze and pull the color off with the roller. So we're going to dip it in there. We're going to cover the whole thing. And usually when I'm doing glaze, especially if it's on a big piece of furniture, I'm only going to do a section at a time, because what happens with glaze is it tends to dry. You can add an extender to it, which I recommend definitely in Arizona because it dries so fast. If you're working in somewhere else like North Carolina where there's a lot more humidity, you might not need to use an extender. So here we go. We're going to roll it across. And we're going to go on to the other side now. And this does not have to be exact. I mean, this is a crocodile pattern, so don't get scared. It's kind of all artsy, subjective. There's no right or wrong. So then we're going to go on this side, and we're going to kind of roll the rest, the other half. Like that. And if you see a spot that you kind of missed, you can go back over it to give it a little image. This glaze is a little thick in that spot, so you can work it a little bit. But you can see the nice little crocodile pattern on the top. Now, when you're done with this, if you wanted to seal it with another sealer, you could, but you really don't need to. It could be finished just the way it is, or you could go in there and seal it. And I'm going to add a little bit more detail in some of these spots that didn't take. And what you can do too is you can just come back, and if you didn't like a spot, come back and do it again. So this is our finished frame. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial today. We have a wide variety of classes that you can choose from here at Fabulous Rehabs, anywhere from our Basic Paint 101 workshop all the way to our Bring Your Own Piece, where you can bring an entire piece of furniture and get it finished right here at the studio, and all supplies are included. If you're interested in signing up for any of our workshops, you can either go to our website or you can call us here at the studio. Thank you for watching.